Lads, lads, lads. Lads, welcome to another Sheffield United preview. Today's preview is Sheffield United versus Newcastle United at Bramall Lane at 6 p.m. And I'm going to have a word with my boss to make sure I can get home for this game because currently working in Wakefield, which is quite far away, finish at 5:30, and there's no way I'm going to get home in half an hour. So, Hal, how are you doing, mate?
Excellent, yes. I suppose Wakefield is only far away depending on where you live.
Exactly, that's true. If you live in Leeds, it's maybe not that far away. Anyway, let's stop talking about that and let's crack on with the video. So, if you'd like to call our last game Bristol Rovers, which I'm probably going to do in this video because we actually won that game, all I'm going to say is we won. That was the main thing. That's what we're happy about. The last game in the Premier League was Crystal Palace. It was one of the worst games I've seen this season from a Sheffield United standpoint. But let's hope we can go and win 2 games in a row. It is Newcastle. Newcastle aren't necessarily one of the big teams that you're expecting to come to Bramall Lane and absolutely batter us. So let's go and win this game. So last time out, Hal, what happened?
Yeah, well, if we get the same results as we did last time we played Newcastle at home, I will still have this fetching beard next time we speak, because I have said that I will not shave until the Blades win in the Premier League. I am regretting it. This is now too much. It's unmanageable and it's very itchy. But last time out, we lost 2-0 at home, 5th of December, 2019. The first goal came on 15 minutes from Alan Saint-Maximin. That was the first goal we'd actually conceded from a header that season. And John Joe Shelvey had a goal awarded by VAR. That was on 70 minutes. Really left a bitter taste in the mouth of all Blades fans. Andy Carroll was flagged offside. He flicked on for Shelvey. The midfielder ran through, slotted past Dean Henderson, who was pretty half-hearted in his challenge and suggested he expected it to be ruled out because we all did. You know, if anything, I remember at the time saying, oh, Shelvey will get booked for that. He didn't. It counted. The Blades had 13 shots and 73% possession, and Newcastle's keeper was man of the match. So I think that tells you everything you need to know about that 2-0 home defeat.
If I'm honest, mate, I think I had a little bit of a different viewpoint about that game because I was screaming at them saying, get back, because I understood the fact that you must play to the whistle these days with VAR. I think that was really early on, and I think that goal kind of paved the way for people to just carry on whatever happens.
Yeah, in a way, it was really early on. We had 5 months of the season, and it's amazing that hadn't really happened before. Certainly not to us. So you were spot on, but for a lot of us, hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, I thought we were quite poor in that game. We had a lot of chances, but at the same time, I don't think a lot of them were really kind of big chances. Like, I can't believe we haven't scored in that chance. But yeah, I remember it being Sharp and McBurney up top, and I'd never think that's a recipe for success.
I agree.
So obvious injuries, we've got Jack O'Connell and Sander Berger. They're probably going to be another few months, you would think. Ollie McBurney, still not sure whether he's close to coming back. I don't think Chris Wilder's mentioned him for a little bit. Then we've got not as many as I thought I was going to be saying. So we've got Lys Mousset, which he came off and he looked a little bit jaded, like he'd hurt himself yet again. Who knows what body part it is this time. We've also got Ender Stevens and George Baldock, which I didn't think that they were injured. Obviously, Ender and George were both part of the Matchday squad against Crystal Palace. But Chris Wilder said after his interview, after the game, he said that both of them were struggling, I think he said.
Yeah. Also, Nick, I think we should just take a moment to applaud George Baldock for that incredible run, which ended against Crystal Palace, of starting and playing every minute in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's obviously done a lot of things right for a long time. And I think people sometimes don't give him the credit he deserves. And Jack Robinson, we're not too sure about Jack Robinson because Chris Wilder, I don't think likes him from what we saw a few weeks back. But now, Keane Bryan's back. Maybe we won't see him again. So who knows?
Yeah, it was a very half-hearted ho.
Okay. Ho, 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 Keane Bryan.
Fantastic.
There you go. Do you want to have a go as well?
Ho, 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 Keane Bryan.
Oh, we're great at that.
Yeah, we are.
And then lastly, I've put down COVID, Jags and Billy, and the reason for that is because they've both recently had COVID. They were both on the bench against Bristol Rovers, I believe. Wait, was Jags on the bench against Bristol Rovers?
I don't remember that.
I'm not sure, actually. I think it's just because I've just watched him talk, Chris Wilder, about the after the Bristol Rovers game, and he mentioned them both having COVID, and neither of them really being ready for the Matchday squad. But obviously, Billy Sharp was on the bench. Not sure about Jags, but obviously it takes a bit to get back to full fitness. Can't see either of them really coming on against Newcastle, but there you go. So, in regards to the predicted lineup, I'm going to say how I would like to see it rather than how Chris Wilder sees it, because obviously I'm not going to know who's fit and who's not, who's training well. So I'd go Ramsdale in there. I would probably go back to Baldock and Ender Stevens if they are both fit. Basham, Egan, it's either Jack Robinson or ho, isn't it? So we'll just say either or, because who knows what Chris Wilder's going to play. I'd probably like to see Keane Bryan playing there, to be honest. Then I would go Norwood, Lundstrom, Fleck, if I'm honest. I don't think Fleck had a terrible game in the last game. And I think recently Ben Osborne's been kind of chasing shadows a little bit. I thought he was good at left wing back, but I'd still probably like to see Ender Stevens in there. Then up front, probably Didsey and Ollie Burke. I think he showed what he's all about, really, coming on against Bristol Rovers. I think that was the right decision for Chris Wilder to bring him on against Bristol Rovers, because he obviously showed his quality and his speed. Very, very good for me. And then obviously probably bring Brewster off the bench just to try and get a goal. Hal, Newcastle?
Yeah, Steve Bruce will have to shuffle the pack after Newcastle went to extra time against Arsenal in the FA Cup third round. Callum Wilson, John Joe Shelvey and Jamal Lewis were all left out of that match and could feature against the Blades. Will the main man at the back miss out after the cup exit? Bruce said Jamal Lascelles came off because of fatigue. One player we could see after the debut is Elliot Anderson, who played against the Gunners. Just an 18-year-old, might be involved, possibly from the bench. Very hard, Nick, to be honest, to predict this 11, but I expect Dubravka in goal, DeAndre Yedlin, yeehaw, at right back, maybe Jamal Lewis at left back, Paul Dummett and Kieran Clark at centre back. The five in the middle, you'd expect to see Almiron, perhaps both Longstaff brothers, Matt Ritchie and Shelvey, with Callum Wilson up front.
It's an okay team, isn't it?
It's not a bad side.
But it is a game that we possibly could get something out of, if not 3 points. So I'm hoping for 3 points.
They've got a similar problem at the back to us. So Paul Dummett is a left back. He might have to play centre back. We know exactly what that's about.
Pretty much. So we'll move on to score prediction. Go for it.
1-1.
Oh, mate, what are you doing to me? You're the positive influence on me. Sorry. I'm going 1-0. Blades. Did you hear that right?
Yeah. You're thinking that after we've beaten Bristol Rovers, only scoring 2 of the 5 goals, that we're now on a big run. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I hope you're right.
So we will move on to a memorable match. Any memorable matches, Hal?
Yeah, when Sheffield United beat Newcastle 1-0. So, who knows? Maybe your prediction happens again, and in a few years I'm doing that as a memorable match, because this was a game that saw Glenn Roeder leave Newcastle. Danny Webber scored Sheffield United's first Premiership, as it was back then, away goal of the season on 68 minutes as the Blades leapfrogged Newcastle. We went out of the bottom 3. Webber stooped to head home. Nick Montgomery, whose cross was turned in. Basically, Monty put on a fine display of skill and completely bamboozled the Turkish international Emre, put this delicious cross in, and Webber headed home. And that was the Magpies' 3rd home league defeat. One of the reasons I picked this is I was in the away end, which of course I think is 4 or 5 miles up in the air, and it was non-stop singing. I clapped so much my watch fell off. I'll give you the team as well. Kenny, Kozluk, Calamity Claude, Jags, Guri, Monty, Miguel Legs of Wood, Alan Quinn, Keith, Rob Hulse, Danny Webber, who was replaced by Kabad Abadou, and we also saw Colin Kazim Richards brought on late on as well.
Very nice. I remember, I think it was Danny Webber's podcast that he did with the club. He said that I think he was either ill or injured or something. And he said he had absolutely nothing left in the tank. And he said he was probably just about to come off. And then Monty put that delicious ball in and headed home. I think like you just said, he came off the cab, didn't he? So he must have been very, very soon after that goal.
Yeah, we want to give a shout to Monty. If you missed the podcast that we did, it's a fascinating insight into how much Nick Montgomery took the Blades to his heart, despite being born and brought up in Leeds, which I think we mentioned actually once or twice, and just how much he still adores the club. And even, I think, a bit of an exclusive that he gave us on his future hopes for coaching and being involved at beautiful downtown Bramall Lane. So check it out.
Yeah, definitely. So I always do this wrong, but I'll point up somewhere. It's either that side or that side. I'll put a link to it there if you want to go and watch it. But don't go and watch it just yet, because we're just about to talk about player connections. And just before this, me and Hal sometimes go through them, sometimes we leave them. And Hal said, I said I've got 4, and Hal says, I bet I can guess every single one that you've got on your list, and he did. So, how do you want to do it? Do you want to run through them, or?
I think we'll take it in turns, but I'll give you, first of all, one that I know you don't have, which was a player that we had on loan from Newcastle in 1998. He only played 6 games for us, but he played 6 magnificent games, and I really hoped we'd sign him. He never really went on to do anything, but he clearly was very, very good on his day. Des Hamilton.
Des Hamilton. Yeah, I do remember Des Hamilton, but I wouldn't have remembered him in a million years. Next, we'll go for the late, great Gary Speed. What a player. What a player that guy was. Rest in peace, Speedo. Loved his time at Bramall Lane. Wasn't quite as good as a manager, but yeah, he'll always be remembered for that season when he was just irreplaceable in that midfield.
Yeah, completely agree. Wonderful, wonderful player. I'll also give you another player we had on loan from Newcastle, a striker. I mean, many people would say the greatest striker that ever played for Sheffield United, but he certainly wasn't in the spell that we had him. Ian Rush. I remember seeing him play up front for us against Bradford at home and thinking, all these stories I've heard about him. Who is this guy? He looked all at sea and completely lost, and a real, at that point, disinterest, I think, in the game.
I forgot that he played for Newcastle, to be honest. He weren't as good at Newcastle as he was at Liverpool, though, was he?
He wasn't as good at Leeds either.
I didn't know he played for Leeds, to be honest. So, yeah, we'll move on from Ian Rush, that terrible, terrible player for Sheffield United. Next up, we've got Wayne Quinn. I might give a little bit of a hint here that the next podcast that's going up on the channel is going to be Wayne Quinn when I get round to editing it. What a lovely bloke he was. Such a good player for the Blades as well, especially in his first stint. Excellent. Won a penalty shootout for us. Played for England.
I think Alan Kelly might argue that last point.
Yeah, I think technically he won the penalty.
Yeah. He took the last one. So yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. So you're wrong and I'm right. So anyway, so
I'll tell you what, Nick. The great thing about interviewing Wayne Quinn is you say hello, how are you, and then 1 hour 45 minutes later you've got a podcast.
What a great guest he was. Like you say, just tells you everything what you needed to know from that question.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to give you a player I've already mentioned, Keith Gillespie. Just brilliant. Still turned it on. Even he was in advancing years when he played for the Blades, and he had so much still left to give. Really exciting player. Could still score, could still cross, could still take a free kick. Everything. I wish we'd seen him really in his prime, but I still think we got some of the best of Keith Gillespie.
Yeah, the reason why we didn't see him in his prime is because he was very, very good. Top-end Premier League player, yeah. I would say. So you decided to take Keith Gillespie from my list and leave me with David Edgar. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. Now, David Edgar wasn't too bad in the team that we had at that point, I will say. The only reason why I'd say that is because we had a terrible team. But he did okay, and I think if we would have kept him the season after, I wouldn't have been gutted about it, but I also wasn't gutted when I saw him left, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I'd rather we'd have signed Edgar Davids.
Yeah, you've definitely said that at some point on this channel. I'm sure you have.
It's my kind of joke, isn't
it? Yeah, definitely, definitely. Before we go on to another section, we'll obviously talk about how we're going to win this game. I've got 2 things I'd like to bring up. There's one manager connection that I can think of. Can you guess it?
No.
Come on, man. Easier.
John Carver.
Oh, no. It's not. It's easier than that.
I've completely...
Think about the current manager of Newcastle United.
Steve Bruce, of course.
Steve Bruce, of course.
Yeah, why did my brain goes to John Carver before Steve
John
Bruce,
Carver is a good one, though.
It says it all, doesn't it?
He was a caretaker manager of Newcastle as well, weren't he? As well as us.
Yeah. So it's a great answer. In fact, if anything, it's the best answer.
It's probably not because Steve Bruce is current, so that's probably the best answer. But anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on from bickering, and I'll give you a player that started his career at Newcastle, youth career before Bolton. Do you know what it is?
No.
Chrissy Basham.
Oh,
started his career at Newcastle. Very, very, very young Chris Basham, playing in the Newcastle youth team before he moved on to the Bolton youth team. So I just wanted to give it a mention, really. And finally, how are we going to beat Newcastle United, Hal?
You know, it's going to come down to the whole thing of a little bit of luck, a little bit of rub the green, which didn't get against them at home last season. I think we're nowhere near that side, the way that we play, the dynamic way that we were playing. And, we still got beat 2-0, but we did outplay them in parts that game. So this isn't going to be about performance at all. It's going to be about building up and building on from that result against Bristol Rovers. So hopefully take a little bit of confidence into that game. I know it was only Bristol Rovers, but a win's a win. And I think if we start strong, score first, we win this game.
I think you're right. I think they had a good result against Liverpool, but that was a totally different game. It was backs against the walls all game. That's not going to be the game this time. I think it was last time. They had the backs against the wall. They were playing 6 at the back at one point, Newcastle. So this time, I think they will go for it a little bit more. I think actually, if I was them, I would probably sit back a little bit.
Yeah, because we're better when we have to hit teams on the counter. So yeah, that would make sense. But I think you're right. I think they might actually go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Play right into our hands.
Come on. Right, okay. Well, we'll leave it there before we get too excited and start saying that we're going to win the Premier League. So hopefully we'll get another 3 points from this game. Another 3 points?
I'll take 3 points.
Just 3 points.
I'll just take. I think Harry Maguire said that after we won a cup game once. It's great to get 3 points. So yeah, I'll let you off.
Yeah, we definitely didn't get 3 points from Bristol Rovers, but that would have been nice. Anyway, so yeah, let's leave it there. Thank you for watching, guys. Thanks for being here, Hal.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And stay in good nick.